Welcome to this brand new episode of Cast Into the Game. I'm your host, Joshua Mickle, and we have a plethora of guests today. And here they are. We have Keiyoma she actually serves at my church on the media team. We have my father, Jack Mickle, join us, and we have from Titans Upload Network. Is that the right channel? I'm totally botching if that's not the channel.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, yeah, Titans Upload Network. Titans Rossi or Michael. So what's going on, Mike?
Not much, dude. You know, it's just been a wacky couple of days. Like if you've kept up with the news and things like that, and obviously the Titans are not playing, unfortunately, and haven't played at this time of year in a little while now. So, but things are going good, man. The channel's doing well. You know, with the number one pick incoming, obviously that's pretty good for us content creators. You know, there's a lot of stuff to talk about this offseason. So I'm excited for the offseason and to see if the Titans can finally, right the ship. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens indeed. And we'll kick off our show with the following topic, and that is this. We had a wild divisional playoff round after somewhat a disappointing wild card round. Upsets from the Lions to the Ravens dropping the ball, fumbling the ball in the snow. Saquon Barkley running over 200 in the snow, and Patrick Mahomes. That's all you can say about that. We'll start off in general. We'll start off because we won't talk much about the Chiefs game because we know what they are. It's the Texans. They're 0-6 now. 0-7 in the divisional round. I've lost count. So we'll skip over that, actually. No disrespect to Houston. Actually, yes. We'll start off with our talk with the Commanders and Lions divisional round game. Disclosure, my wife is a Lions fan. She's from Gaylord, Michigan. And let's just say she felt the same thing that we Titans fans have felt 4 years ago in the 2021 season, where we were the number one seed. We were rolling on all cylinders. We had injuries up the wazoo. We get the number one seed, and we are left heartbroken and just obliterated. And I'll start with you, Mike. What were your thoughts on the Commanders-Lions game?
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Daniels is he's awesome. Like he's just one of those quarterbacks. His run kind of at the moment reminds me of who was the quarterback? He played for the Commanders or
RG3
Redskins at the time, but RG3, yeah. Like it kind of reminds me of that run a little bit, but even better. Like I mean, Daniels has just been amazing. Like to do what he's doing. I mean, I think they have a real shot of winning the whole thing. I mean, if he can continue to play like he's playing, like why not? You know what I mean? And the guy, what impresses me about him more than anything is just his cool, calm collectiveness. His demeanor in these games. He doesn't seem to get too high or too low. And for a rookie quarterback, it's amazing. I mean, we see the effects. We've seen the effects that it has on other rookie quarterbacks, aka Will Levis. Just getting way too crazy and then throwing a touchdown and throwing a pick six and just losing it on the sidelines and on the field. You don't see that with Daniels. So I think they have a legitimate shot of making it or winning the Super Bowl.
All right, Keiyoma, what are your thoughts on it?
And I agree. I feel like watching the games earlier in the season, they were playing with the same type of hunger until they played Pittsburgh. And I don't want to bring up my team, but it is what it is. And after we beat them that game, they kind of went on a downward spiral for a few games. But whatever happened in this playoff, like the Commanders literally have a secret sauce. And to me, their secret sauce is this will and this drive and this hunger that should be present, especially when you get to the playoffs. But a lot of teams fall flat, and that's where you can't get so comfortable It's where you think, oh, just because I have this record, oh, I don't have to really put that out there. And I think that's what happened with the Lions in that game. Like they got too comfortable thinking, oh, this isn't a team that we really have to prepare as much for, but their will and their drive and this hunger that this team has, the way they executed this game, like that's what cost them the game, like, and cost them their season. Like the Commanders are playing very well, and it's almost like even when I, have my little picks for the weekend, like okay, I think this, and it's like I have to really contemplate, like man, I can't really choose who I want to win these games because it's like the Commanders are playing at a level. It's like, oh, you got to think about that secret sauce, and it's like, is that secret sauce like gonna win out this game? And it's like, as much as I, you know, have it for the other teams, it's like, dang, it's literally that sauce that allows them to win these games. And I honestly, I chose the Lions winning this game, and I was kind of saddened by them losing, but at the same time, I wasn't mad because I feel like they dropped the ball, which this game reminded me of a season some years back when Pittsburgh they were undefeated all season, first seed, everything, get to the playoff and lose that first game. It's like it reminded me of the same thing my team experienced and how hurt I was. Like, come on, you can't drop the ball now. But that's what the Lions did. And I feel like the right team won that game because they played with their heart. Their fourth downs, they don't care. They're doing what they need to on fourth down. They're not punting. No, we going for this. And I think that right there is how you need to play. Like you can't play scared. You can't play, you know, like you're you have to play and put everything out there because this truly is a winner go home type of situation. So with them literally converting on fourth downs, like that right there that's what's gonna take your team to the Super Bowl. And I feel like the right team won because the Lions didn't execute the way they needed to. So that's my thoughts about that game.
All right, Dad, what are your thoughts about this? We like again, your family, and you have a tie to the Lions technically, but yeah, what are your thoughts on the game?
Look, Washington is playing with house money. I mean, that's the danger of playing a sixth seed in the playoffs is that no one expects them to do anything. It kind of reminds me of the Lions last year, in a sense that, you know what, it's been so long, the town is behind us now, and we're just going to go out there and give it our all. No matter what happens, we're going to have fun doing it. And it seemed like they did up until the championship game last year. But I don't know what it is. Dan Quinn's got has the coaching, the culture turned around. Well, the owner does. And then, Josh Harris and then Dan Quinn and the new GM, they've just introduced a new culture in there. I wasn't a huge fan of Coach Quinn. I thought he was a good coach, a very good coach, obviously, taking the Falcons to the Super Bowl some years ago, and obviously Dallas's defense the last few years. An awesome coach, but I just, as a head coach, I thought, I was more meh about it, kind of a, 6.5 out of 10, but I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they caught lightning in a bottle. I don't know what it is, but they, Jaden Daniel, obviously, in their running attack too, and their offensive line. What really makes me angry is watching these teams play that have offensive lines that actually block, that actually open holes, that actually can pass pro. And you look at them and you're so mad, you're so jealous, so frustrated. You're like, why can't we as Titans fans have nice things? So as the Washington Commanders roll, I agree with you, Mike and Cal. I think that this team, Washington, has what it takes to not only go to the Super Bowl, but even win it. Because again, every 10, 15 years, a six seed kind of comes up and out of nowhere and wins it all. And I think if any team is that, well, there's only one team this year. That's the 6 seed Washington. Everybody else is a 1 or a 2 seed. So I've never been a Redskin or a Commander fan, but this year I'm kind of rooting for them because it's not that they've won Super Bowls, so I have no pity on any team that's won any Super Bowls, including the Jets. So. But this year I'd have to root for the Commanders on this. But it's lightning in a bottle. Can they repeat it next year? RG3, like you brought up, Mike, he was great. And then I think once you get film on you, maybe you get slowed down a little bit because
the
people
injury versus
figure
Seattle
you
did
out.
him. The injury versus Seattle in that playoff game did RG3 in.
No, it did. But I'm just saying that there's been plenty of quarterbacks who their first, especially their rookie year, kind of played lights out, and then all of a sudden, or 3/4 of the way through the season or the next season, people figure them out because they got tape on them. Now that they got tape on Jaden Daniels, let's see if he can do it. The old sophomore slump next year, maybe, maybe not. Who knows? But right now, shoot, I wouldn't bet against them necessarily.
All right, my thoughts.
I just saw.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, I just saw a tweet and I thought this was interesting with Jaden Daniels. It's from Todd Jacob. He said Jaden Daniels made VR training a condition for any team drafting him. Now he's NFL Rookie of the Year and 1 game away from the Super Bowl. His edge training his brain at 1.75 times speed. So
wow.
I thought that was interesting.
Wow. Okay.
How much of effect does it have?
Yeah, when you have a cerebral quarterback like that who also has the physical tools, well, that's dangerous.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, in between the eyes. My thoughts on the game. As my wife is watching it, I'm like feeling her pain. It just reminded me of those 2021 Titans where we were the number 1 seed like 4 years ago. I'm like, yeah, I know how this feels. I'm like putting my hand over her shoulder. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. We all feel pain. 31 teams feel pain, and 1 team feels joy at the end of the season. So
that's the way it always is. But what happened to the Lions defense? That's what surprised me. I think everybody is what happened. 45
injuries.
Points?
Yeah, that's the one thing people can point to is like that's the one side of the football that's been injured like crazy. Like from Aiden Hutchinson to some of their DBs, some of their linebackers are either out for the year or out for long periods of time. So in terms of
they the postseason. So and they were the top seed. So
yeah, they got that week off. So yeah,
I can't really give them that much grace because even with all of that, they still were able to get where they were this season. So I mean, I see that. Yeah, injuries is a factor, but with injuries and all, they made it to top seed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you still made it regardless. So I mean, it's one. Jared Goff. Yeah, Jared Goff is going to have the microscope on him.
Yeah,
very broadly now, and I said to myself, like, this is why the Rams traded away Jared Goff. Okay, yeah. Unfortunately, Detroit's suffering in the most heartbreaking way you can think of imaginable. But in terms of the overall game, yeah, Jaden Daniels just shows you why you need to take a quarterback if you're at the top of the draft board, because they were number 2 last year in the draft board, and they had O-line needs, they had receiver needs, they were bringing in journeyman tight ends like Zach Ertz and the former Chargers running back that were on their latter years. It was essentially trying to get by this year with their roster after their offseason. And then what changed? They get a quarterback that it's changed life for them overnight. And with the right particular coaching around him, we now know Cliff Kingsbury is a better OC than head coach. We know Dan Quinn, again, like from his Falcon days, is a really good coach. And their defense has him firing on all cylinders and like playing at the nipping at the right moment for your pick sixes, fumbles, whatever it be, just getting after the quarterback with that tenacity. But this is a big shot in the foot for Detroit. Like, this is a big blown opportunity. And like all number 1 seeds that get there and they're one and done, you're wondering, hey, what did we miss out? Like, what did we potentially screw ourselves over for? Because now it's Philadelphia versus Commanders in the NFC Championship game, and there's the saying like, hey, you much rather lose to the Super Bowl champions. But if Commanders do not win versus Philadelphia, Lions fans probably gonna have to be kicking themselves, saying we probably could have beaten the Eagles if we got past the Commanders. Like they'll be asking those questions all offseason also. Is Jared Goff your long-term solution? Even after you paid him crap loads of money. So that's going to be something on the minds of every single Detroit Lions fan about Jared Goff. But the front office and the team, they're behind him because they've just paid him a gazillion dollars essentially to be there for the next 3-4 years. And the next game we will talk about right now is, speaking of another choke job, the Ravens in Buffalo. The Ravens in Buffalo. Yet Mark Andrews is probably going to be exiled from the state of Maryland for his fumble in the middle of the field where he should have just went down and the dropped tying 2-point conversion. I am convinced Mark Andrews is going to be annexed from the state of Maryland by the time the offseason is in full swing for the Ravens after they clean out their lockers and they're in the scouting combine. Mark Andrews is going to get axed as a roster casualty, in my opinion. And we're getting Buffalo versus Kansas City again in the AFC Championship game. For how many? What is this now? Like 3 of the last 4 years, we've had a Buffalo versus Kansas City matchup in the playoffs. So I'll swing it over to Keiyoma. What were your thoughts on that Ravens Buffalo game?
It was bittersweet. So let me tell you why. I didn't want the Ravens to win for obvious reason. But at the same time, I was expecting the Ravens to win that game. I didn't want them to win, but I truly expected them to win. I feel like that game, like they just forgot what they were in there for. Like they forgot that this game right here is a milestone in trying to get to the end goal. It's like the thing about the Ravens, like they are such a solid team to me, and I hate when we lose up against them because they're in my division. But at the same time, it's like when you have these opportunities to win against a team like Buffalo, like you can't make the mistakes that they made. Like unacceptable mistakes, turnovers, like those things shouldn't happen in games like that. And I feel like they really lost the game for themselves when it comes to the mistakes that they made on their end. Um, but I can't say that I wasn't happy. I was a little bit pleased, but at the same time, it's like Lamar with Henry on his side, that little duo that they have going on. I feel like they should have won that game, but I feel like you say, errors on their part was costly. You can't have the turnovers. You can't have the drop balls. Like you can't have that and still expect to win a playoff game. It's not gonna happen like that. And
You have
I mean,
Derrick Henry, and you don't use him from either of your 2-point conversion
2 point
tries.
conversion. No, he didn't. And that last one was so sickening to watch because Andrews literally was like he was open. Like he literally just did not catch that ball. And I was like, wow, that's the game right there. That's it. So I know I feel the same way you feel. Like I feel like, yeah, he probably ain't gonna get paid for last night, but that's just my own little thing. He shouldn't have got paid. But yeah, I feel like this was the year if they were gonna do anything about as far as advancing to the Super Bowl, this would have been the year for them because they had Derrick Henry with them. So,
Yeah. All right, Mike, what are your thoughts on it?
Sorry, I think I was muted. Yeah, so I look, I was kind of torn. Like, being the Ravens, I can't stand the
The
Ravens.
Raptors, yeah. We
On
don't like them.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so many different levels. You know what I mean? From them stomping the logo to all the history that Eddie George versus Ray Lewis. All it goes way back for Titans fans. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't mind seeing Henry get a ring, and I say that because of I look at the teams, the Bills, the Chiefs. Obviously, I don't want the Chiefs to win. I just can't stand the Chiefs like everybody else other than Chiefs fans. And I'm sure we're going to talk about the Houston Chiefs games, and I'll go on that tirade then. But, you know, look, the NFL is a billion-dollar business. Chiefs and Bills are good for business. But I don't know. As far as this game is concerned, I think it's a shame. I mean, I tuned in. Like, I actually didn't watch the whole game. I tuned in for like the last 2 minutes. We had just got back from my brother's birthday, and I watched like the last 2 minutes, and I saw that drop by Mark Andrews. And golly, like, I mean, Mark Andrews is arguably one of the best tight ends in the league. I mean, the guy is an absolute beast. That's what he does, is he catches touchdowns. And to drop it like he did, I know it was snow, the weather and all that, but there was no excuse. I don't care if it was, a downpour. I mean, it was literally like a 7-yard pass. It was so easy. And I know he's got to be beating himself up today. Somebody had posted on X too about, before the season, who's going to stop this duo, Lamar and Henry, and it seems like Mark Andrews stopped it. So, yeah, it's pretty rough.
Yeah.
But here we go with the Bills again. Are they finally going to make another Super Bowl? Like, are they finally going to get there again? It's Josh Allen finally going to propel them to where they need to go, because he's been awesome this season. So, yeah, I think it's a shame for the Ravens. I'm not like sad about it or anything. I would have liked to see the King go further, but let's be honest. I mean, Derrick Henry is a whole different type of beast, and he's got a couple more, maybe 3 or 4 more good years in him. I mean, he is defying the odds. It's absolutely phenomenal.
It helps when he was running back 2 behind DeMarco Murray for all those years to start out his career.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. So, anyways, that's all I got on that.
All right, Dad, what are your thoughts on it?
Wow. Obviously I hate the Ravens, and I respect Derrick Henry as a person. I think he's fantastic for all the things he's done for the community, and I'm sure he's a great guy. I've never met him, obviously. But once you leave the Titans, to me, you're dead. You're dead to me. I mean, when Steve McNair left, I loved him. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. But when he went to Baltimore, I was like, see ya. I mean, I don't want you to win anymore. That's who I am on a football level, not a personal level. But yeah, and I was doing some research. 8 of the top 10 in yardage running backs to have ever played the games won Super Bowls. And Derrick Henry was, I think, number 8 on that list, or number 9. I can't remember, but all the other ones have won Super Bowls. So you got to have a running back who can do that, and him not having as many miles on his legs as you referred to, Josh, running his first couple of years, he wasn't Derrick Henry. He was
he was either running back 2 behind DeMarco, or he was splitting it with Dion Lewis. So
yeah, I mean, he wasn't confident. I think it was I can't remember what year it was, but it was in the year 2, I believe. The Eddie George said, "Hey, look, man, you've got to get your head on straight, and you've got the body to do it. Do it." And I think that's when we actually started seeing Derrick Henry. So anyway, my hat's off to the Bills. Don't like the Bills either. I don't like anybody except the Titans, period. So I don't, if everybody ends in a tie, that's fine by me. But the Bills, if I had to root for a team, it'd be the Bills, for going to the Super Bowl 4 times. I'm still salty over the game they played the Oilers. I think it was
their
92?
First Super Bowl. Yeah, it was their first Super Bowl run. Yeah.
Frank Reich, dead to me. I don't, he's a Christian, I love him personally, but I mean, come on, man. How are you going to come off the bench and do that to me? It just really, I still haven't forgotten that game. And so the Music City Miracle I thought would turn things around and reverse that curse, but it really didn't. But anyway, kudos to the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen, the man. He knows he's not flashy like, say, a Lamar Jackson is, but he knows how to get things done, where to go with the ball, take care of the ball, and he's a tough runner. And that's the value of having home field advantage. I think if that were in Baltimore, maybe not. I don't know. But Mark Andrews, I hope he's chin up today, because he's, like you said, Mike, one of the best tight ends right now, arguably one of the best of all time. So, yeah, he had a boneheaded play. I think they said he dropped the ball 4 times the entire year. So that stinks that you had
Yeesh.
two on last night. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't really care because you're a Raven. So, I don't really care. I have no sadness for anyone on the Ravens. I really do not. So that's my feelings of the game.
So we talk about the championship games with Kansas City, Buffalo, and Commanders and Philadelphia. Funny enough, if the matchup were to be Buffalo versus Washington, the funniest Super Bowl story to ever come out of that was all those years ago. I think it was the second or third Buffalo Bills Super Bowl run where they had their star running back. Like they had a perennial offense, and the star running back was not on the field for the first half, essentially, or first quarter, because they couldn't find his helmet. And the person that did the national anthem had misplaced his helmet that was supposedly he did it on the 30-yard line as a tradition. And so when they did the national anthem, whoever sung that national anthem misplaced the helmet, and they couldn't find his helmet for the first quarter and a half, supposedly. So little history lesson between Washington and Buffalo, if it is those two teams that get back to the Super Bowl. Keep your helmets next to you, Buffalo. That's my that's my advice to you if that happens again. Next game we'll get to. We'll touch up on it right now. Why not? Houston versus Kansas City. Since I glossed over that initially, I'll be quick with my thoughts here. Nothing much to say. Houston's 0-6. They're Houston in the divisional round. They don't score more than 12, 20 points a game in their divisional round games. They suck. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, and there were some questionable calls, but again, what else is new with them this year? That's not the first time that's happened. And I'll kick it over to you, Mike. What are your thoughts on the Texans Chiefs game?
Yeah, I mean, I expected the Texans to lose. I mean, I feel like they played, they played them tough. Like they were kind of hanging in there. They couldn't quite get. I mean, into the third quarter they were down by one. And Kansas City gets the touchdown. And they were hanging in there. I mean, they were hanging in there, and it just, hey, we've seen it happen over and over again, and it's a shame that it's just becoming like to the point where people just kind of accept it. Not saying you or anything, but it's just in general, people accept it now, like with the calls that Kansas City gets in their favor. It's absolutely mind blowing to me. And on my personal channel, I have a video, which I don't post on my personal channel much anymore, but my most viewed video was a few years ago when it was against the Bengals, the Kansas City Chiefs against the Bengals. I think it was a playoff game or it was a playoff deciding game where they literally just kept giving the Chiefs an extra play. I don't know if you guys remember that.
I think that was the AFC Championship game.
It was the AFC Championship. That's what it was. Yeah. They literally just kept, nobody knew what was going on. The commentators were like, wow, like what is happening right now? Like it was one of the most insane things I've ever seen. Just blatant disregard for anything. It was like the NFL saying, we don't care. Like, we don't care. We want you to call it this way. We want the Chiefs in this game. Like that, I mean, to me, and there's some nuances to that. There's some context if you go and watch the game. There's some things that happen. A phantom whistle was supposedly blown and all this type of stuff. But you could see, I mean, yesterday there was a play where they call a helmet to helmet on the Texans, and they don't even hit him in the helmet. Like they literally pulled up, like you could see the guy pulling up, and it was a crucial play in the game. Like you're talking about a momentum swing, and I just think, look, I honestly think there is something to it. I'm not saying the NFL is rigged. Like I'm not one of those people where it's like, oh, it's rigged, they're paying off. But at the same token, you could make an argument for it. Like I see that's why people say things is because every time you watch the Chiefs in meaningful games on national television, they're like, boom, like here you go, like just blatant obvious about it. And it's just, I don't know, man. And that's why people can't stand the Chiefs so much, is because they feel like the NFL is on their side. Look, it's a multi billion dollar business. We would be ignorant to say that there's not a little something like here and there. I feel like, but I don't know, man. That's just my rant on it. Like, I'm so over the Chiefs. Like, I don't want the Bills. Like, look, I don't want the Bills to make it either. But I would love to see the Chiefs just get demolished in this next game. Like, I would love to see Mahomes throw 4 interceptions and it be a 42-12 route or something. Because I'm just over it. I'm over the Chiefs. I want them to lose. That's all I want for this offseason, for this playoffs. That's all I want is for the Chiefs to lose and get demolished.
Does anyone
And I'll
remember the
end my
last
rant.
does anyone remember the last time the Chiefs were not in the NFC Championship game, AFC Championship game?
7 years ago.
No.
Who was it against?
Is it really?
Who did they lose to?
Oh, you're going to add Cincinnati.
No. We should know. It's the Marcus Mariota game. That's the last time they were not in the AFC Championship game.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
It was Alex Smith last year, and since then, we unlocked the Pandora's box with Patrick Mahomes the next year later. I still contend. So, yeah. The things we have unlocked for the NFL, I still blame the Titans for. Because if Alex Smith wins that game, you at least delay the Patrick Mahomes era by another year. So, Keiyoma, I'll swing over to you. Texans, Chiefs. What was it?
Mike, my sentiments exactly. That's how I feel. I just want.
All right.
This whole 3P situation conversation. I just want it all to die, because when I say I'm so sick of seeing Kansas City, like it's bad to say it, but as soon as I was doing my picks, I already know, I'm like, well, I know Kansas City gonna win this game. And it's like, I'm sick of having that feeling. Like, I want it to be like this might be who gonna win this game? But I don't feel that way. And it was like the typical, like Josh said, those bad calls at times where they literally was a shift in the game. Like, watching that play with the helmet to helmet, I'm like, they didn't even hit him. Like, come on. All this roughing the passer, like, stop it. Like, the stuff it's at a point where it is just it's too common to where it's like, come on now. People know what's going on. We're not slow. We watching this. Like, y'all are literally doing things in their favor, and it's at the point where you do start to think, like, is it rigged? Like, and I'm like, not on the paper either, but it's like, it makes you wonder, like, so what's up? I'm really just, I'm over Kansas City being in the Super Bowl. If they go to the playoffs, I don't mind that, but I'm sick of seeing them in the Super Bowl. I feel like that I just want the Bills to just, like Mike said, demolish them. Just leave them trembling. Like, just have a whole new mindset and humbled. I want them to be humbled. like
There you
I
go.
want
That's a good word.
that to happen for me to feel some peace in my heart. Like, I need that to happen. I need the Bills to go to work on that day, and I need them to execute plays beautifully.
Hey,
Like, I just need it to happen.
Quick question before we throw it over to my dad. Do we not want to see Philadelphia versus Kansas City in the Super Bowl
I do
again?
not want Kansas City anywhere near. I don't even want them to sniff the Super Bowl.
No, I'm saying I'm saying do we not want to see that matchup of Philadelphia versus Kansas City? I say no, because it's going to remind me of Golden State versus Cleveland, like every single year of the finals for me, if that happens again.
I don't.
Yeah.
All right, Dad. What are your thoughts on the Texans wannabe Oilers game? Yeah.
The game itself, it was man. I mean, I expected the Chiefs to win and all that kind of stuff. I want I want the Bills to win so handily and the Chiefs to lose so badly that Taylor Swift has to write a sad song about it. I mean, I want to see the camera pan over to her
Bingo.
and see the tears come out of her face because I just sick and tired of and I want Travis Kelce. I want one of the cornerbacks to just nail him to where he has to come out of the game for the rest of the game. Not injured, health, like, it's, he's going to die or anything, but he can't play the rest of the game. And yeah, just I want him to lose that bad. So we're all in agreement, on that. It's like the Hunger Games you're talking about, these phantom calls. Maybe the odds be ever in your favor. It's like the NFL with all their machinations. They just want the Kansas City Chiefs to go through. In this day and age of betting, that's dangerous because you can't be flirting around, messing around with a betting line with the refs. And I mean, there's a whole story there with why with all their money and billions of dollars, why don't we have 100% true refs all year long instead of part-time refs? It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I agree. I think there's some phantom calls that are arguably, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it's kind of hard to ignore those types of things. So, but the Texans, I don't know, they're in the AFC South. So it's kind of like when you're in the worst division, all you got to do is be good and you're going to win, at least go to the playoffs. I think that's where the Houston Texans are comparatively speaking with the AFC South right now. So when they get up against big boy competition, they just kind of fold. So that was it was a very, to me, unexciting game because I didn't want the Texans to win either. So if Chiefs lost to that, there'd be that point of, they lost to the Texans. But then you'd be like, the Texans won. So, I really didn't. Matter of fact, I only watched like half the game. I think it was like the second quarter and the fourth quarter. I was doing something I can't remember, but that was it. That was my feelings.
All right, and the final game we will touch up on the other snow game with the Rams and the Eagles. And quite honestly, I had the Eagles winning this game, but it wouldn't shock me if it was the Rams pulling this off somehow, and it would be the perfect script of. You have the LA team still in the playoffs after what happened with the fires. And, you have the Cinderella story with Washington. Then you have we're winning this for our city type of team in the NFC Championship game. So that will not be happening in reality. Saquon Barkley, again, if you're a Giants fan, you're just kicking yourself that you chose Daniel Jones to pay $40 million to and not give that money to Saquon Barkley. You're kicking yourself every time you see him run some more and score some more for your rival, no less. And, I think it just enforces the whole thing of like West Coast teams don't do well in the snow historically. I mean, they have before. I mean, Tampa Bay is not a Western team, but they're a tropical team. Went in there in Philadelphia in their final game of their last stadium and shot them in 2002 when they went to the Super Bowl that year. But yeah, I think it enforces the whole West Coast teams don't do well outdoors on the East Coast in the snow. And if this game was in LA, maybe it's a closer game, but then again, that did happen. And Saquon still ran all over them. And one of the defenders, they mentioned on the broadcast, I had no idea about this, that one of the defenders, number 8 for the Rams, was talking crap about Saquon about, hey, you're not gonna get behind me the next time you play. And apparently, like, they brought that up and they coincided with Saquon looking right at him as he's about to score a touchdown. Like you were saying?
Jared Verse.
Yeah. It's like you were saying. What was that thing you said? So
was it Jared? Was that Jared Verse?
I think it was Jared Verse, if I'm not mistaken, off the top of my head. But
he was like, I hate the color green. I hate their fans.
It was a good game for the Eagles, and hey, funny enough, we were not too long ago in September, October, they're talking about how they're going to fire their head coach supposedly, and how the fans were booing him. And now they're in the NFC Championship game. I mean, I guess this is par for the course for Philadelphia fans, I guess, because they did this with Andy Reid, and I guess they'll do this with their head coach there right now. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. the head coach for the Philadelphia Eagles. But in terms of their team, A.J. Brown Sirianni. So A.J. Brown was not reading his book, so that's good to see on the sidelines. Again, Saquon, and Jarrett and Jalen Hurts didn't do anything to cost you the game, and you just let Saquon do his thing, and you let LA be LA in the snow, which is nothing. Keiyoma, I'll swing it over to you. Quick thoughts on the Eagles game.
They definitely had them a little nervous toward the end of that game.
Oh yeah, definitely. They were up 2 touchdowns. They were up 2 touchdowns, and they had a chance to win it. Yeah,
they gotten a little too confident with that little 13-point lead, and then around the 5-minute mark, fourth quarter.
Yeah,
the Rams end up scoring, and they got the possession again, and literally, that was 2.5 minutes still left on the clock. They end up getting the ball back, and it's like, wait a minute, hold on, we might end up losing this game. They got nervous toward the end of that game. There was still time to actually still win that game for the Rams, and I think that was I was glad that happened, because you can't get too overconfident in these games. 2 minutes in football is a lot of time.
Yep.
That's a lot of time. So don't get so comfortable with the lead. They had a lead and you could have actually blown it because you're thinking, oh, the game is over. And that would have been like the irony in a LA team beating you in the snow at your home. Like
that would have been embarrassing.
Come on. But luckily, it didn't, pivot in that, that area. But at the same time, I feel like there was a lot of good plays. I was happy to see Hurts, moving the ball the way that he did, as well as those big explosive plays from Saquon. Those are the things that I think were clearly turning the game in their favor, along with the snow. But at the same time, like, I was happy to see that win. I expected that win, even though I would not have been surprised if LA would have won that. But I did expect Philly to win that game. So I was happy to see that. But it did get a little toward the end of that game. It was about to be a toss-up for a couple of minutes, but I'm glad that it ended the way that it did.
All right, Dad, what are your thoughts on it?
So, Jalen Hurts, he gives me hope that an average cornerback could actually go to the Super Bowl and win it, maybe. So, I mean, he's a great runner. He's tough as nails. But he got injured in the fourth quarter, I believe it was, of last night's game. And when he was one-dimensional, took his running thing away a little bit. I think that's what you're talking about there, Keiyoma, even though they scored, I don't think they would. The Eagles were confident that they could go forth and be the same team offensively. Great thing about the Eagles, though, that offensive line is just lights out. God, I hate other teams having such great offensive linemen. It's unreal. Why can't we do those things? But it also leads me to think that the Commanders, with their scheming, playing with house money, normally I say going into any game, who's the better quarterback of the two teams? And then I ask myself, who's the better defense? And then I go to offensive line. 2 out of 3 and that's who I'm choosing to win. So I think with Jaden Daniels playing the way he's playing compared to Hurts, I think Jaden Daniels is a better quarterback. And if Hurts is still hurt, I think the quarterback goes to them. Offensive line goes obviously the Eagles, but the defense, I don't know, bro. Eagles got a great defense, but Dan Quinn knows how to scheme. You've seen it. You've seen him scheme and their defensive coordinator scheme against these teams, Jared Goff and whatnot. So, you got to give the nod to the home team though. But I don't know. That's going to be a good game. But I'm not a big Hurts fan. I think he's great at what he does, and he's in a system that thrives. So that's going to be, I get to you talking about quarterbacks. You want to draft one, you better draft one that fits your system, because you just draft any quarterback. I don't know, Patrick Mahomes would not win games with the Titans the way we are now. So I think that that all has to go into your plan. So, but the Eagles, they're the Eagles. They're kind of, to me. I used to live close to Philadelphia, and I actually worked in Philadelphia. It's just a different breed of fan there, just like the Buffalo Bills fans. They're just a different breed. And they get on your nerves. Kansas City fans are like that now because they don't think their crap stinks. So those that's why I hate certain teams is because of their fans. It has nothing to do with the team. But I expect Philly to lose against the Commanders, though.
All right, Mike. Let's close it out here.
Yeah, for Saquon Barkley, I mean, for what he's done this year, I mean, him and Henry, like it was only fitting for both of them to go off like they did. Considering Barkley's them not signing him back, Joan, I think's his name, not signing back. We all saw that in the Hard Knocks off-season thing where they're talking about how he's gonna decline and all this stuff. And yeah, I mean the guy. I saw something yesterday, I believe, where Saquon Barkley has the third most yards in NFL history if you include the playoffs in a season combined. And that 80-yard run that he had yesterday, just the the nail in the coffin, so to speak, for that game. And yeah, you got to give props to LA. For them rallying towards the end of the season, for them doing what they've done. I mean, they kept that game close, and they had a chance to do something at the end as well, and possibly win that game. It just didn't happen. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you on the on as far as the play of Jalen Hurts. Your dad there, as far as the play of Jalen Hurts, like I think he's one of those kind of system quarterbacks. If you got a guy like Barkley, great, and you can make an argument for Barkley as an MVP.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how much value has he brought to that team? I mean, they've always lacked a really good running back like that. Like last year they had what's his name? He had a pretty good year. He's with the Lions now, I think. Anyways, but he had a decent year. I think he had like 1,000 yards. Um, but now they have that running back that's just they have an awesome running back who can actually change football games, who can actually affect football games. For that reason, I would say they do have a chance to be Super Bowl, can be in the Super Bowl or possibly win it, depending on how Barkley goes. AJ Brown, like AJ is one of those players. Like I think it's kind of, I don't know. I think it's kind of boom or bust with him. Like he's going to really impact a game or he's not going to impact a game. But that game yesterday, obviously with the snow, was their plan was to run the football. And Matt Stafford had over 300 yards, so they were obviously throwing the football in that weather, which it doesn't surprise me. Stafford did that. If he's one quarterback who could do that, it would be him with the arm that he has. But yeah, I mean, Barkley is just phenomenal. I mean, I think that whole offense revolves around Barkley right now, and where he goes, they go. And I think it's just phenomenal what he's doing. And yeah, it's sad. Like it sucks. Like I I kind of look at the Barkley and Henry situation the same. Like if he goes back to New York, like the team's so crappy, like the Titans, the team is so crappy around him. They give it on. Like I hate to see Henry go, but in a way, when I was like, just let him go, man. Like let the guy go. Give him a chance to get a ring. He's been in the league for 10 years. Barkley not as long. But it's like, you know what? Like, why waste his talent in a rebuild mode here? And I don't know. I think, like I said, the Eagles go as Barkley goes right now. If they can still, block for him, giving great running lanes, an 80-yard run. I mean, he didn't have to do much. They just opened the seas for him. So it'd be interesting to see. Like a Eagles Bills game, Eagles Chiefs game, and see if the Eagles don't tank in the Super Bowl.
And I will just quickly point out with Derrick Henry, I don't have any issue him going to Baltimore if we traded him to Baltimore. We had a third round pick ready to go
Right.
for him.
I know.
And whether it be Mike, Vrabel, or Amy Adams, whoever it was, I tend to think it was Vrabel because he wants to keep the ship intact per se. Yeah, that's a third round pick. We're still looking for a third round pick years later that we haven't recouped still from Will Levis and now the Jerry Sneed. And speaking of Vrabel, as we pivot to this next topic right here, Mike Vrabel hired as the new head coach of the New England Patriots. Not a shock to most people, but here we will talk about the tea leaves as to what is going on. In that not only is he being the head coach there, he's also bringing in some familiar faces, such as per local outlets at the in the local outlets of New England, he's bringing in Ryan Cowden, who was in the Titans front office, who he wanted to be GM originally. He will now be general manager, expected to be the general manager with the New England Patriots. And now, also per said story, is that our good sports strength and conditioning coach, Frank, I keep forgetting his last name. I can't stand the guy.
Moreno.
Yeah, where he is now expected to be the Patriots strength and conditioning coach now, per said article as well. And that Vrabel also wants to bring in Shane Bowen to be his defensive coordinator. But we don't know if that's going to be the case with the Giants, if they're going to let him go, let him walk as well. But the two things with Ryan Cowden and Frank now overseeing the strength and conditioning staff for the Patriots, I cannot say I feel sorry for you because as Titan fans, I started this podcast in 2022, and from 2021 to 2022 to 2023, the issue with our team has always been injuries. And yes, injuries. And after 1 year, you're like, okay, it's a fluke. 2 years in a row, that's a trend. 3 years in a row, you're just stupid. And that's one of the things I will still hang my hat on, even though we have the first overall pick in this year's draft. I can hang my hat on the fact that we have a much better strength and conditioning staff in Tennessee than we had the last 3 years. So I will take that W and take that to the bank. So with Vrabel, yeah, he's getting the band back together, and we will find out what he's going to do with a 4-win team compared to when he came in and took over a playoff winning team in Tennessee. We will find out quickly how long Vrabel lasts, and I think, man, people say he's a good coach or he's a great coach. Vrabel, I have tons of respect for him. He knows what he's looking for. If this is true and they bring back Frank and he gets his hands on Shane Bowen to be defensive coordinator, I am going to say, he hasn't changed one bit. He hasn't changed one bit, and this is going to be one crapshoot for Patriots fans to witness. And I'll kick it to you, Mike. I don't know if you heard this news as we're talking about this, that he's going to be bringing back pretty much the same strength and conditioning staff in New England, and he wants to bring back the game supposedly with his coaching staff.
The same staff where they had a record amount of injuries for 2 years in a row. And I mean, look, none of this surprises me. I mean, New England is giving him the keys to the kingdom. That's what he wanted in Tennessee. That's why they didn't want him back at Tennessee. Yep. That's why Amy, the exact reason she didn't want him back, because he wants full control. And New England is willing to give him the keys to the kingdom. I mean, there's all types of stuff. I was reading the other day, there's all types of stuff in his contract and all types of power he's going to have. I think, for Mike Vrabel, that's probably, if you're going to have success under Mike Vrabel, maybe that's the way. But also, I think it's a incredible ability to completely tank the organization as well. I think it could go two ways. It could be really, really bad, or it could be really, really good. I don't like Mike Vrabel as a rebuilding coach, but
Yeah,
he does
exactly.
have Drake May. So, Drake May is a good starting point. Like Drake May's played okay. He's looked like he has a lot of promise, but I just don't see the big turnaround. I'm kind of one of those people like I was on the train of like, let's keep Vrabel another year and see what happens. I was kind of on that side of things when it all went down. And I was the same way with Rand Carthon when I was like, let's let him have another year, like he's drafted pretty well, other than the Will Levis debacle. But ultimately, Will Levis was a second round pick. It's not like we're losing this insane amount of money from Will Levis or anything if he did flop. But I don't know. I think Vrabel's got a good opportunity. But the whole buddy thing is like so just I'm over that. Like and we were over it in Tennessee. That's the exact reason why he got the boot. So I just don't see it the future looking very great in New England. Not the immediate future anyways. I think it's going to take a few years. The question is, are they willing to put
To
up
wait. Yep.
with Mike
Wait and put
Vrabel
up.
for a few years to make that happen?
All right. And one more thing before I kick it to Dad is that I was not on that bandwagon with you of keep Vrabel one more year. The one thing that would have kept Vrabel for one more year is this. He's in this meeting with Amy Adams that supposedly got him fired. He says to Amy, hey, we have Will Levis as a young QB. We're going to kick out Tim Kelly. And look who just came available, just freshly fired from the Raiders, Josh McDaniels. I'm going to bring him in here to be my OC, and then look what he has done with Mac Jones his first year, and look what happened with Mac Jones when he wasn't here. Look what Tom Brady did with Josh McDaniels as an offensive coordinator. Look what Matt Castle did with Josh McDaniels as a play caller. He's a better, like Cliff Kingsbury, he's a better play caller than he is a head coach with Josh McDaniels. If Vrabel were to say that after the 2023 season, Vrabel will have had 24 with Will Levis. What happens in 25? I don't know. But in terms of when all that went down, that was Vrabel's golden opportunity to say, hey, I see what's going on with the offense, and let's see what we can do with Will Levis with Josh McDaniels. That did not happen. This will be the ultimate hypocritical move if Vrabel brings in Josh McDaniels now versus when he could have in Tennessee, in my opinion. Before I kick it to Dad, what do you agree with me, Mike, that Vrabel would have still been here if he hired Josh McDaniels?
I think so. I think he would have had a better shot of still being here. Honestly, it really depends on the production. Yeah, I mean, if McDaniels is can turn it around, if he could have turned it around a little bit and the offense looked better, yeah, I mean, I think there's a much more of a possibility of him being here than not. Who's he bringing in for OC? Did you say?
He is supposedly looking at the offensive coordinator, Downey. I have not seen that yet, but I would not be surprised if the Jets say, hey, yes, you can go ahead. Like Bill Callahan, the Browns say, yes, go ahead and be with him. You can go. You don't have to be. You're not obligated here anymore. Same with Keith Carter, in my opinion. No, the only names that have been brought up is the play. Thomas Brown, I think his name is from Chicago, and Marcus Brady, I think his name is from the Chargers, has been brought up as officially. But the elephant in the room, Josh McDaniels, has not been quiet. Let's say that. Like, that's obvious. Everyone wants Josh McDaniels there, but per the outlets, like, Vrabel hasn't brought him in yet for hiring. So, all right, Dad, Vrabel bringing back the gang in New England. What are your thoughts about that?
So if I were to do a good barbecue or put together a good 80s band, I'd want Mike Vrabel as my lead singer. You know what I mean? Because whether you suck or not, it doesn't matter. You're there to have a good time. not for a football coach, especially your head coach. I don't want a buddy. I understand you have certain people that you like, that you get along well with. I understand relationship building because really the NFL is about that, especially coaching. So it's relationship building. But come on, man, there comes a time where Bill Belichick wasn't like that. He was like, and speaking of Bill Belichick, who from that tree has been successful? The last quarter or head coach that took all the power from that tree was Bill O'Brien. And look at what he did to the Texans. He absolutely destroyed them for a couple of years because of his decision making and his lackluster head coaching ability. Really, once he got that power, so I applaud it, man. I want him to Vrabel. I want Vrabel to be Vrabel because that means we're going to find out whether or not Amy Adams Strunk was incorrect, whether or not Vrabel was. Oh, you know what? He was right all along. But my heart of hearts tells me that Vrabel was wrong. I was fully behind the firing because he wasn't willing to change and he wanted all that power. And I'm not a head coach with all that power. If you don't have Tom Brady, you shouldn't have all that power because it's never, to my knowledge, ever led to any Super Bowl victories. So. And Vrabel, like you said, Mike, he's not a team builder. I mean, as far as from the ground up, he has to go to an organization that already has talent. He loves his veterans. He hates rookies, and he can't build up a team. He is an ego maniac, which is exactly the reason why we lost. I think it was the Chiefs or whoever it was.
AFC Championship game. Yep.
Yeah. He said, Dean Pease, hold my beer. Let me call the defense in the second half. Even though you're playing lights out and coaching a good game, I know what I'm doing. Let me in the driver's seat. And what happened? We were winning, and then we lost. And the players even said so even before that. They were like, hey, the defense was going in there with a certain game plan, he would come in there and change
Wesley Woodyard.
Because he felt like he knew better. That's not, I don't want him. But, yes, please, hire Frank Moreno, and you no one's going to be healthy at the end of the year. Please bring Todd Downing in where you can score 16 points a game, if that. Bring in Bowens for your defensive coordinator, and so you
Keith
can
Carter
have
for
other
your
teams score 20.
Yep.
Yeah, just get everybody in together. Please, please, please do that. I want you to do that. So Vrabel be Vrabel.
And with that, as we kick off our Titans portion of the podcast, we'll let you go, Keiyoma, because you're not I don't want to say you're not well versed, but you say you don't have much knowledge about the Titans stuff. But we appreciate you being on here, and it's been awesome having you on here with us.
I'm so glad to be on. Thank y'all. Talk to y'all later.
All right.
Thank you. It's nice being on with you.
All right.
Bye.
All right. Dad, are you still there? I don't see you. There you are.
No, I'm here. I had to get a power cord. I'm on my phone, so it started going down. I didn't charge it last night. Shame on me.
All right. So next topic we are going to be tackling is the general manager hire of Mike Borgonzi. Borgo is what he's supposedly called by his friends for short. Chiefs personnel for assistant GM for so many years, even through the Alex Smith years, he is now part of the New England. I mean, no, he's part of the Tennessee Titans, and now I think and again, Mike, I don't know where you stand on this because I've pretty much been muting pretty much everybody out when it comes to this whole GM stuff because once the season ended, it was. Yay, we got the first pick, and then not even 24 hours later, it's, oh my God, we're the most dysfunctional organization with Rank Carthon fired. What are we doing? We don't deserve the first round pick. Like I had to mute out everybody online. I'm like, everybody needs to chill. Take a chill pill. We're going to get a GM. We have bigger fish to fry because we have to figure out who's the first overall pick in the first place, not who's GM, especially if we want to believe Brinker has final say. No, it just came out today that Brinker is going to be the tiebreaker whenever there's disagreements, which is that's the normal thing I would think with assistant GMs, if I'm not mistaken, where if you have a general manager and say he's disagreement with the owner or head coach and it's like you have a 2-2 tie. You need that vice president to come into the Senate and break that tie, and that will be the assistant general manager. And Chad Breaker. And I think with all this, I mean, for folks to say when this all started, and the consensus was that, oh, Brinker's going to want a yes man. He's going to want to bring in his guy. And Sullivan from Green Bay was the consensus pick. And to say, hey, what about Mike Borgonzi? He's the best candidate, right? Yeah, he is, but there's no way he's going to come to Tennessee and be a yes man to Chad Brinker. All of that turns out to be false in terms of the whole narratives of hyperventilating from the Titans community. And this is one of the strangest things I find with our fan communities, that we're not Steeler fans, we're not Cowboy fans, and we're not even Chiefs fans, but we have these we have these butting heads of disagreements of like this proportion. And I think with the Borgonzi hire, I think if you were to say, it's almost similar to the Mike Vrabel Malarkey situation. Both are good coaches, but we hired Vrabel because he's better than Malarkey. Rand Carthon, minus Will Levis, has managed our roster as good as you can manage it. From the first year he came in, where we couldn't do nothing because of salary cap constraints, and then last year bringing in gangbuster signees up the wazoo because we had the space to do it, and it didn't hamper us for this year. And bringing in Skoronski, bringing in Tajay Spears, finding Jarvis Brownlee in the 5th round or so. And I mean, the only thing that missed was Will Levis and trading away that 3rd round pick. 2 3rd-round picks, one for L'Jarius Sneed and one for Will Levis. Those are the only earmarks against him. And then the radio comment that he made, I think before the season or during the season, where he said we checked off all the boxes in terms of our roster, in terms of what we want to do for our roster. In which I say, no, you did not. The right tackle is still an issue. We still don't know what's going on with right guard, and we don't know about Will Levis. But Mike Borgonzi or Rand Carthon, I think 9 out of 10 people are going to say we're going to pick Mike Borgonzi over Rand Carthon. Because, I mean, like, just for the same reason, like Malarkey, Vrabel's like, we're going to go with Vrabel because Malarkey won't fire Terry Robisky. And Vrabel will bring in more of a nuance to our team than Malarkey would have. And Malarkey, for all intended purposes, he ran his course in Tennessee. That was the farthest we believed he could take us. And that turns out to be true because no one signed him to be a head coach elsewhere. I'll throw it over to you, Mike. What do you think about the hire of Mike Borgonzi as our general manager?
Yeah, and I actually got to run after this one, guys. We actually got somewhere we got to.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
out to. But no, with Borgonzi, like, you know, I think it's a great hire. Obviously, he was one of the top candidates. He's been with the Chiefs for years. He was, you know, the GM's right-hand man for years, as they say. But and Titan Upload, our founder of the network that I'm on, he brought up a good point on his show the other day, saying like, yeah, you know, it's great. Like, everything looks great on the surface, but you know, bottom line is the guy's never been a GM before. Like, you know, we had kind of the same thing with Rand, never been a GM before, that type of thing, which I think it's not a bad thing necessarily. You know what I mean? A lot of GMs that you hire have never been GMs before, you know, because typically when you fire a GM, they're never a GM again, usually, unless it's years later, you know, and they've kind of built themselves back up through being an assistant GM or a director of player personnel again or something. You know, like I could see John Robinson resurfacing. There's been murmurs of his name again popping up. But I think it's a good of a hire as you could get at this moment. I feel like there were some great candidates. I think there was 2 or 3 that like you would be happy with, regardless who it was. I'm glad they didn't go with the John Eric Sullivan route. I'm glad they went with Mike Borgonzi. I think his resume speaks for himself. but at the same time, we just don't know yet. Like this, he's coming into a very volatile role at this time. Like number one pick, all that. Do you keep the pick and you take Sanders or Ward? Like I think at this point, you could take you could take Travis Hunter, you could take what's the guy from Penn State, Abdul Carter. You could take them at number one, but do you want to? Like, is the number one going to be reserved for one of those two quarterbacks? And if, I think if it's not, you got to look at trading possibly. So it's a volatile situation for Mike Borgonzi. Like, this could make or break his whole career as a GM, this 1 year. And I'm just tired of the turnstile. I want some consistency, and but I'm down. I'm 100% on board with Bergonzi.
And where do you and before we let you go, where do you sit on the debate of and I'll bring up this graphic. I don't know if you can see it, and I'll bring it up on my screen behind me. The infamous Cortland Finnegan Andre Johnson fight. I have memed, and it's the equivalent of the Titan fan base right now. Draft a quarterback. You have you have no team without one, and then you have the side that says you have too many holes. Trade back. The quarterbacks this year aren't good. So I'm curious, before we let you go, where do you stand on that train personally? Versus what you think they'll do.
There's a situation with the Cowboys where Deion Sanders might potentially be the next head coach of the Cowboys.
No, he's not. No, that's not going to happen. It's going to be Kellen Moore, and they're waiting for the Eagles to flame out first.
Right. But, hypothetically, if that did happen, I think you would have to have something. They would have something set in place way before the draft even happened, because he's made it clear he wants to coach his son. Now, I don't think it's going to happen like you. I don't think it's going to happen. But I think if you could get a king's ransom for that number one pick, because last time they traded the number one pick, they built an AFC Championship roster.
And we had Marcus Mariota.
We had Mariota.
Who do we have? I don't mean to cut you off, but that's the crux of the argument. It's like, let's do what we did in 2016. What's the difference between now and 2016? We had a young franchise quarterback.
We had a quarterback
ready to go.
We did.
We don't this time. So
right. And I agree with you. That's the dilemma. You know what I mean? So I think right now, you keep it, because there are a couple different generational talent type players there. You got Hunter, you got Carter. And if you really like Sanders, if he all of a sudden just shoots up at the combine and he's somebody, or Ward, I don't know, man. Maybe go for it and see what happens. I like Sanders. I don't know if he's first pick worthy. I don't know about that, but I do like Sanders. I like what he potentially brings to the franchise. Like, as far as, he possibly brings Deion as some type of role. He just brings something to Tennessee. Like, you're not just drafting Shedeur Sanders. You're drafting a brand.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, you're bringing eyes to Tennessee. You're putting butts in the seats in the new stadium.
Yeah. I bring up the comparison of John Morant when he entered Memphis, when he was drafted.
Correct.
Exactly. This will be on that level. This will be on that level off the field. Yeah.
So I don't know. Is it worth it for all the extras? Like, if he's just a mediocre quarterback, but he brings it, I don't know. But right now, I think it all just depends on draft day. I'd like to see what the combine turns out to be, what that looks like. But I think that either way, I think you could do okay in this draft. Like, you might be able to trade back a little bit, maybe to the third pick, and still get your quarterback or something. And maybe Ward falls to third and you take a shot on him or something. I don't know. But right now, I'm just kind of up in the air with it. I really don't know. Like, Borgonzi's got a heck of a job ahead of him. Like, I do not envy that man one bit. So,
All right, we'll let you go.
Yeah.
We won't keep you waiting. We'll let you go, and me and Dad will finish out this show now. All right.
Okay. Thank you
Glad to
guys
have
for
you on,
having me
Mike.
on again. Like I said, been following you guys for a long time. I watch all your other content too, the music videos and I love that you guys do the film reviews and stuff, and so it's pretty cool. But yeah, thanks again, guys.
All right, glad to have you on. Look to have you on later.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. See y'all later.
See ya.
Bye.
All right, and so there's just two of us, and we will go ahead and start.
And there were two.
Yeah, there were two. I will switch that right there, make it better. All right, what do you think about the Mike Borgonzi hire?
I love it. I mean, if you would have told me, at the beginning of the year, if I would rather have, or at the end of the year, if I'd rather have Rand Carthon stay on as GM or bring in a general manager from the Kansas City Chiefs, I would say give me the Kansas City Chiefs. I think Rand, I mean, with everything that's come out after hearing his interview on 104.5, and maybe that was stacked, they were limited because I think he's still getting paid by Amy, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he's still getting paid.
You don't want to bite the hand that feeds you, and and he was taking the high road. I got it, fantastic, but it just doesn't seem that with some of the things he did. And I'm not talking about sleeping on a plane or anything. I'm talking like the Adrian, who was it, the lineman Dillard hire, refusing to address adequately right tackle and right guard, drafting first round a right tackle, making him a left tackle. And then it just the free agencies. I know you got L'Jarius Sneed, but and you got some, you got Cheeto, and some of these guys
Murray,
were good.
Yep.
But some of them were good, but some of them were okay. And Sneed hardly played, and that's a lot of money tied up. And I mean, technically speaking, our wide receiver one, Ridley, shouldn't be a true wide receiver one.
Exactly. Yeah,
I think he should be a wide receiver two. So I am in favor. I can see why. It's all about wins and losses, like he said. Personally, in 2 years, where did you go? You didn't go anywhere. You went south, and that's not good. So I applaud the hire. I don't like Mike was alluding to the revolving door at head coach, and then the next year GM, and then the next year head coach, and then the next year GM. Eventually, you got to settle and stick with your pick and let it ride. I think that Borgonzi specifically, he has cut his chops. He has come up through the ranks. He has been a college scout, I believe. I think he was in charge of college scouting at the point. And the players, even though he wasn't the GM, I'm almost 100% sure that any players they drafted or brought in, he had a hand in. Mm-hmm. So I'm saying, you had Alex Smith, you had Chris Jones, you got Patrick Mahomes, you got Travis Kelce. I don't know if he was there when Travis Kelce was brought in, but you see what I'm saying? Mecole Hardman, Tyreek Hill. I mean, these guys, Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, they brought in L'Jarius Sneed. I mean, they brought in some really high quality candidates. Now, was he ultimately 100% the man to do that? No, but he had a hand in it, which leads me to believe he had a positive hand in that. And also he saw whoever had the ultimate hand, the GM, say, yeah, I think this is, and he absorbed that knowledge, that process. And I think that's what ultimately also got Rand fired and also Vrabel fired, in the sense that I don't think either was embracing the future. And that's exactly what Amy Adams Strunk said in her press release, is that moving forward, talking about the Rand firing, I don't think that this is the right person to lead us. Because not that he's a bad GM, it's just that where we want to go, he doesn't fit the mold. Does that mean you need a yes man as GM? Absolutely not. I refuse to believe anybody would interview for this job to be a yes man. No one in a right mind. A man is still a man. He's got pride.
Yeah.
And I think with a name like Borgonzi, I don't know if that's Italian or not. It sounds Italian.
Yeah, it does.
I think there's a lot of pride and ego involved with that. And not in the sense that I'm always right, but in the sense of I'm not going to let you tell me how to do my job. And all I am is just a skeleton with skin on it and just, collecting a paycheck. Let me do my job. And I think I'm not Rand, but Chad Brinker's job is going to be, that's his name, Chad, right?
Yeah.
I know his last name is Brinker. But anyway, I think we don't want another Will Levis episode. That's why he's there. I don't think we want another Andre Dillard episode. That's why Brinker is there. It's not to say Brinker is the GM. It's to say Brinker is say, hey, whoa. What are we trading? Why are we picking number one overall, Kyle McCord from Syracuse? Why are we doing that? You know what I'm saying? So I think he's there as a sanity check, and he also wants to bring in people who are moving into the future. And I think analytics has a lot to do with it. And you can say what you want about analytics. I'm a coach by your gut guy too, but the guys that embrace analytics are the guys still playing football right now in the playoffs. So Andy Reid's a perfect example of that. He coaches with his gut, but he embraces analytics.
Exactly.
And he incorporates analytics. Vrabel was not that guy. I don't know. I think Callahan is that guy, but the GM is going to embrace it and say, okay, my gut says this. What do the numbers say? Because numbers don't lie. And then you incorporate that into your gut feeling, and then you come out with a decision, and then you work collaboratively, like they were talking about last year. That I think is a better fit. I think that's what Borgonzi is going to do, and I think that's what Brinker wants. That's what Amy Adams wants. And I don't think Rand was that guy. He was like, "What are you guys talking about? This is crazy. I'm not into that." And so, okay, it's time for you to go. So I'm on board with it. I just like Mike said. Give me some consistency, because no team has ever been a model of winning that has consistently fired their GM and head coach. And like when I say consistently, like every 2 or 3 years, there's someone's moving. That unless someone's like getting hired away from you because you're so good, but usually that's not a coach or a GM. That's your underling. So give me some consistency. But winning will solve everything.
Yep, 100% with you. And we will close out the show with this right here. The Titans Civil War that is happening within the fan base right now. And we got Mike's quick thoughts on it before we let him go. Draft a quarterback, trade back. Do you have a team without a quarterback if you trade back? Are the quarterbacks good if you take them? We got too many holes per se. I'm of the camp of look where the Commanders were last year. They were in the same position as we were. They just didn't have the first overall pick. The Carolina Panthers via Chicago Bears did have the first overall pick instead of the Commanders. Commanders were in the same situation, same O-line issues. Everybody but Terry McLaurin was a no-name at wide receiver or underperforming at wide receiver. Team was down the tubes. Team was decimated. Team had nothing. Hence, they were the second worst team in the NFL last year. And I'm of the camp of you got to draft your quarterback this year, and I will go ahead and play this quick clip right here from A to Z where Sam Fallon laid out the case perfectly, I think, why the Titans should take a quarterback first overall.
Here's the elevator pitch for Shedeur Sanders. What does Brian Callahan want in a quarterback? What does Brian Callahan not have in Will Levis? What is Brian Callahan? What did he thrive with Jake Browning, Joe Burrow? Guys that protect the football, guys that are accurate passers, guys that have post-read recognition and are good processors to run his offense effectively. Now let's talk about Shedeur Sanders instead of Cam Ward. Cam Ward, by the way, his entire MO is big, explosive, crazy athletic, freak plays, but also prone to hero ball, prone to turnover-worthy plays, more turnover-worthy plays than any other quarterback in this draft class at Miami. Don't let the interception number fool you. It's the turnover-worthy plays number for Cam Ward. He very often tried to do a lot and put the ball in harm's way in a way that reminds a lot of people of Will Levis in terms of his ceiling and floor. Shedeur Sanders does not do that. Shedeur Sanders is by far the most accurate quarterback in this draft. Weighted on target percentage. Okay, that is weighted on target percentage. It is to test a quarterback's accuracy in their throw percentages and how often they throw on target and good balls. Let's look at draft prospects. Okay, Shedeur Sanders, by far the highest mark of the entire class. All right, so Caleb Williams, 69.26. Jaden Daniels, 76. Drake May, 72. Michael Penix down at 63. McCarthy at 66. Bo Nix at 70. Cam Ward, below all of those guys at 61.21, which is very close to college Will Levis, who is at 59. Shedeur Sanders is at 73.2, higher than everybody from last year's draft class and right behind Jaden Daniels. This is a guy with enough athleticism to escape and extend the play, but throws with pinpoint precision accuracy. He picks apart defenses quickly, great post-snap recognition. He has the athleticism to extend plays with his feet, but at the end of the day is a true pocket passer that can run an offense and get through his reads effectively. The easiest comp to make, the two comps that are made for Shedeur Sanders in the NFL, not joking, CJ Stroud and Joe Burrow. CJ Stroud has been one of the, like Joe Burrow is obviously the ceiling, the upside of that with how quickly he has done it. But when you look at the skill set, it is more of that pocket passer in today's NFL. So often now we are prone to go to the running quarterback, the explosive, toolsy quarterback. And you look at somebody like CJ Stroud, who everybody loved Bryce Young over him because of all the tools and all the special things he can do extending the play. And CJ Stroud has proven that being able to just go through your reads, stand in the pocket, make good, accurate throws, make decisions is what can win you games. And with a coach like Brian Callahan would be a great fit. I also love the idea of the star power of Shedeur Sanders. I love the fact, we were going to ask this question and going to talk about it. I don't know if we got time for it, but I'll just go ahead and say, I love the star power. I like the fact that the Tennessee Titans will be a marquee name. They're a must-watch TV. You turn on Good Morning Football, you turn on ESPN, First Take, they're starting talking about Shedeur Sanders and the Tennessee Titan. I love that. So make no mistake about it. This guy is a talented passer. He's a good pocket passer. He's got enough size. He doesn't turn the ball over. He takes care of the football. He's a good leader. And by all accounts, a well-respected teammate that is clutch. How many clutch moments did we see from Shedeur Sanders over the past 2 years in his time at Colorado? That's the right pick if the Titans are going to take a quarterback at all. And so there's the elevator pitch.
All right. And that's the elevator pitch he made. And I tend to agree. Shedeur Sanders, during his time in Colorado, accurate with the ball. Why they weren't in the college football playoff or they struggled, you can point to one particular thing of notice. Colorado's offensive line is horrible. Their O-line is horrible. To where wherever NFL team he walks into, he's gonna have a much better O-line to work with, in my opinion. Cam Ward, he's got a little bit more, like Sam laid out the facts of like Cam Ward, maybe the next Will Levis 2.0 potentially. I tend to see on the side of Cam Ward coming out into the scene like he did, like Jaden Daniels did his first year at LSU, which prompted him to go number 2 overall in the previous draft to where if you look at Cam Ward's turnover numbers, a lot of that was from his days at Washington State, Ivy, like FCS football, I believe, like with teams that you don't expect to be good at all, to where he had no choice but to get out of the pocket, throw it in, like play quote unquote hero ball with all that. And then look what he did with Miami. No one had Miami on the map for a top 15 team this year. And then look what happens when Cam Ward walks onto the scene. And I mean, I'm firmly on the fence of the Civil War that we should draft a quarterback first overall. Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, I don't care who it is. You got to have the guts and you got to have the tenacity and the conviction of your choice to pick that guy, because you are saying to the franchise and the fan base, this is our young quarterback going forward for the next 4 years at least, with his rookie contract, 5 years, if you want to go out that far. I'll swing it over to you, Dad. What I know we've had this talk before of what you have preference for, but the viewing public does not. Where do you stand on this Civil War line?
So, Josh, I agree that if you are in love with Ward or Sanders, you pull the trigger. I mean, because if you think you have your franchise quarterback in reach, then take him. Absolutely take them. Absolutely take them. And if you are, picking 2 or 3 or 6 or 12, and you want to move up to get that same quarterback, then you should mortgage the future. If you believe that that's your franchise, you should do everything in your power to do so. But we don't know that Sanders or Ward is going to be that. Everything's a roll of the dice. Everything especially quarterbacks. We do have holes to fill. Oh my goodness gracious. We have so many holes to fill. It's unreal. Hence the Rand firing. Vegas has Ward as the overall significantly favorite to be drafted number 1 overall. Now, will that be to the Titans, or will that be to the Browns or the Giants, or the Cowboys or the Raiders? Who knows? But they say number 1 overall will be Cam Ward, the prohibitive Vegas favorite. I agree. Of the two, I would prefer Sanders just because he's used to running around for his life and he's an accurate passer, because that's what I want. I need you to be able to read a defense pre-snap. I need you to throw your receivers open. Will Levis has a tendency to throw to the receiver where he's at now, not where he's going to be. He sees ghosts out there, or he doesn't see a linebacker in the flat and he throws it right to the linebacker. And he's a hero kind of guy. I watched him at Kentucky and Penn State. I thought he was a baller. I thought he was a Baker Mayfield, but I don't think he's the guy, especially not the trade up to get him. So I wasn't on that Will Levis hype train. I was hoping he would be the man, but it didn't come to fruition. But the thing with trading back, you have to have a partner, and that partner has to give you what you want, because you're the one who holds the number 1 pick, right? So, the dream scenario would be, hey, the Browns want Ward so bad, and the Titans got to say, they got to sell it. Hey, man, we want Ward. We want Sanders. We don't really know who we want right now, but we love both of them, right? And then trade back with the Browns, them come up to pick Ward, right? And then you get picks, and you get Sanders. You see what I'm saying? So, but you got to know what the Browns are going to be doing and live with the fact if they get Sanders, you're willing to live with Ward. But what I'm hearing is that the Browns love Ward. I don't know. I like Mike said, I don't envy Borgonzi's job right now, because he's got a whole lot of row to hoe, because it's just so many holes to fill. Free agency, so many holes to fill in the draft. We need to pick up some picks, though. Regardless of who we draft, we need to pick up some picks and set ourselves up. Sanders is that star power. Sanders can put butts in seats, but if Sanders can't win, and the jury's still out on Callahan, can he coach? And if he gets his right players, can he really win? If the answer is yes, then you'll put butts in seats. But the answer is no. Guess what? We're back to firing Callahan in another year or two. Again, and then we're not winning, so no one's going to come to the games, and you're trying to sell PSLs to a brand new stadium. Good luck. So you got to hit. I mean, you have to hit. So, yes, general manager for the Titans, good luck to you, brother. I hope you're successful, because I love the Titans. I want them to be successful. But there's just it's a roll of the dice with quarterback. You never know.
Yep. And just so we're clear, if Borgonzi was phoning a friend and your phone rings draft night,
call me, Mike. Call me.
Yeah, and he says to you, "Hey, we're split between Abdul Carter and, let's say for argument, Shedeur Sanders. We're split.
Okay.
But you, Jack Mickle, I'm phoning you because I trust your opinion so much that the pick that we make is going to change our franchise for the better. Mm-hmm. Who do you want us to select between those two, Carter or Sanders?"
If we're sticking and picking, Sanders, because he's a quarterback. I mean, we don't have a franchise quarterback on our roster right now. You have to at least stick and pick and make a swing. If that's your choices. I mean, you still have Harold Landry. Now, he's coming, this will be year 2 after his injury, so I think he'll be better. You still have Sweat. You still got Simmons, right? Will Arden Key be any better?
No. No.
So you're right. So I mean, are there other picks you can get? Probably. Ohio State's got some great edge rushers. So I think that I mean, not just Ohio State, but I just use them because they're a really good defensive team. So I think you can fill holes, still pick number one overall, and fill holes otherwise. Now, you still hold the number one pick in every round. So you're still on the trading block, and say, hey, around, 2 picking 33, I'm sure somebody might want to move up. And you can still get some picks along the way. So I would say Sanders, pull the lever. He's a quarterback, bro. And if you feel that high on that quarterback, you got to pull it.
So what do you think about just the overall picture here? Is that the argument I would make is that if this were the Giants, if this were the Raiders, every single fan will be in unison saying, pick Cam or pick Shedeur Sanders as your quarterback, versus a fan base like ours. We're in the same situation as those teams, but we are not in unison. And it seems like on the online forums, and if you want to talk to these people at a local bar, like just hanging out like friends, and you start getting after it with each other, it's like you want to rip each other's heads off. It's like, we don't there are those out there that say, vehemently trade back or do not take these quarterbacks because they're not first round worthy of a quarterback. To which, I would argue Bo Nix was said to be a second round pick. He was the 12th pick. Michael Penix Jr. was said to be undraftable because of his injury history. And he ends up going 8th overall in the NFL draft, which I actually had him pegged as a late first round, early second round pick in my opinion. But it is what it is, and those two quarterbacks have done well with their teams. And I don't know what your thoughts on it, like the division with the fan base as to what this team should do with this first pick. Because if this was any other franchise, there'd be no question.
Well, we've not won a Super Bowl ever. So, and we haven't sniffed a Super Bowl since, 2019, 2020, at least being contenders. And when you building a new stadium and traffic is what it is in Nashville, it's like, I think they said Nashville has the 27th worst traffic in the world.
Top 30, yeah.
Because it's growing so much. The prices of Nashville are skyrocketing because it's becoming a destination city. Which is good news. But when you have a professional sports franchise that does not win, that's upsetting. And add to the fact that we have a passionate fan base here. A lot of times it's like, you and I are so hard on the Titans, not because we hate the Titans, it's because we love them so much.
To death. Yes, exactly.
We've invested emotion, time, money into this team. So when you love something so much and you see it going horribly wrong year after year after year, or you're stuck in mediocrity for a better part of a decade, you start to get to that point to where, I'm out. I'm done. I'm finished with you guys. So you got to show me now. That's why it's a big split, because some of the ones that are more patient are saying, hey, relax. We can trade back, get some picks, build for the future. But you don't know you're going to be able to be in a spot where you can actually get your quarterback of the future in the future. You know what I mean? So you're here now. Do you want to do it now, or do you want to gamble on the future? And I think those who don't want to gamble on the future are saying, pick a quarterback now, and no one's right or wrong, because we don't know. We won't know for another 3 or 4 years who was right and who was wrong.
I think it's a blessing that we got the first pick, because we had no business picking first overall if not for Joe Milton in the last game versus the Patriots. And
think about it. We are only relevant because we have the first pick. That's it. Mm-hmm. If we were number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we wouldn't be relevant any more than we were 3 years ago. So it's nice to be relevant for once, but it's bad to be relevant for this particular reason. And it's just a spotlight's being shown on us, the team, the organization, the fan base. You fire your GM. You just hired a new head coach who, I don't know, can he coach, can he not coach? You add all that stuff up, you're going to get frustrated fans, and it's fueled by online personalities, radio personalities who are either Team Wren or Team Vrabel or Team Callahan, Team Amy, and there's those factions. And until you start winning, then you're not going to solve any of that. Once you start winning, all of those complaints disappear. Mm-hmm. I'm sure Kansas City Chiefs have issues. There's problems, right? There's weaknesses that will be exploited or can be exploited. But until they are exploited and they start losing, no one hears about it. No one cares. We're the Kansas City Chiefs, right? So, start winning, Tennessee, and then you'll see more fans and less opposing fans. You'll see PSLs getting bought up. You'll see jerseys being sold, and life will be good. But you have to win, and you have to win now. I mean, you really do. For Callahan's job, for PSLs, for being relevant, because if not, we're just going to keep going round and round and round in this same vicious cycle.
Yep, and I like to take it home here is that if we trade back, we're going to put ourselves in the same situation like the Steelers. They have no quarterback. They can't get a quarterback that they want unless they want to haul off a king's ransom. And you can be a mediocrity, but you're not good enough to win the Super Bowl, but you're not bad enough to draft those superstars like a Travis Hunter or a Carter or whatever quarterback you fall in love with Sanders or Ward. You're stuck in the middle. And I think some of the fans in our community in Tennessee is that has been etched in their mind so much from the Tannehill years, from the Mariota years, and even to an extent the Matt Hasselbeck, Jake Locker years, where it's like, hey, we're just like 1 or 2 games away from being a playoff team, and we can get by. Look what we've gotten the number 1 seed with Kerry Collins and Ryan Tannehill. We don't need a superstar quarterback to get the number 1 seed. Look what we've done twice with those quarterbacks. And then I would say, have we won?
15 years.
have we won games? Have we won games in the playoffs? No, we have not. It's been one and dones, both because of bad turnovers in both games. I rewatched that 2008 playoff game. It was on YouTube. We had 5 turnovers. I forgot how many turnovers we had. I thought we had like 2 or 3. We had 5 in the red zone. And, it's it's one of those things.
Don't live in the past, Josh.
Yeah. I still rewatch, like, whenever that Bengals game is like from 4 years ago, I'm like, how did we lose this game? How? 9.5 sacks. That's my argument against Abdul Carter. We had 9.5 sacks in the playoffs, and we still lost. And so
quarterback was a problem.
Yep, quarterback. All right, we'll leave it there. And for Keiyoma, who was on earlier, thank you for being with us. Mike from Titans Upload Network. Be sure you check them out and subscribe to their channel and for the awesome videos that they do on a regular basis. This is my dad, Jack Mickle, and I'm your host, Joshua Mickle, signing off here at Kick It to the King Productions, telling you to keep kicking it to the king.